Hey everyone, welcome to InterviewPro. Let's talk about Angular forms today. In Angular, there are two types of forms, template driven and reactive forms. In this video, we'll see how to create template driven forms. We have created a feedback form in our previous videos where we had name, feedback, and submit options. I have added few more controls here like age group, playlist, address, and send update via email. This is the code, HTML code related to that form. Name is just an input, age group is a drop down with different options, and playlist is a radio button. We have four playlists. Then we have city, then state, country, zip code, and the feedback, which is a text area. Then we have a checkbox that tells whether we need to send updates via email or not. Then we have a submit button. To make this a template driven form, create a template variable to this form. So just add a hash symbol followed by any user defined name. I'd like to call this form as feedback form. So I named it feedback form and assign this with ng form directive. This directive is responsible for tracking the value of this form. So it contains value of all of its form fields. Let's see what this feedback form has. So let me just display this on the screen. Let me use pre-tag here and display feedback form. This form has a property called value, and this is going to be a JSON. This is going to be an object. So let's display in the form of JSON. Before looking at what this value has, make sure this form module is imported in the app module.ts. Add an import here from Angular forms and add it to the imports array. We have added this in our previous video, so we don't need to add this again. Let's go to the UI and see what it has. For now, this is an empty object. We don't see anything in this value. For ng form to track the controls, we need to add another directive to each and every control, that is ng model. So for the input, let me add ng model. Let's save it, go back to UI, and even now we don't see anything. And if I inspect, go to console, I see there is an error. So what is the error? If ng model is used within a form tag, either the name attribute must be set or the form control must be defined as standalone in ng model options. So there are two ways here to get rid of this error, but let's use ng attribute in our case. So let's go back. I will add name property here and I'll assign the user name. Now we see username in the form value. If I enter something, this is updated in the form value as well. Let's do the same for all these controls. So ng model, add ng model to all the controls, to the input, to the text area, and to the checkbox. Along with ng model, we need to add name as well. So let's add name to this age group. I'll call it age group. Then we have playlist radio buttons. So for all these radio buttons are going to be part of playlist only, right? You can select only one of these options. So all these options need to have the same name. I'm going to name this as playlist and let me copy paste the same to all other options. Then we have inputs here. Let me just update this name to city, then state, country, zip code, then we have feedback, then the update, send update. Now let's go back. We can see all the names added to this form. So let me enter some dummy data here. Let's say test user 1, age group. I want to select it as 24 to 34. We have different options here. I'll select 24 to 34. And the playlist that I'm going to give the feedback on is Angular. So as soon as I click on Angular, we see the value Angular here added to the form. Where is that coming from? Every radio button has a property value. If it's the option is Angular, the value is Angular. If it's React, it's React, Python, Python, JavaScript, and JavaScript. Coming to city, I'll just say test city, then test state, test country. Let me give the zip code as 123456. And the feedback, this is an awesome tutorial. Now if I check this checkbox, we see that is send update is updated to true, and if I uncheck, that will be false. If you look at these inputs, city, state, country, and zip code, all of these belong to the user's address, right? So we can group these inputs into one control, which is address, right? So how do we do that? So this is the part of HTML where we have all those inputs. So to this parent div, just add another directive called ng model group and assign it with the name that you want to use for this group. We have city, state, country, and zip code, which means address, or you can name it as locations. I'll go with address. Let's save and see what it does. Look at this object. Previously, it was got a different name. Let me use zip code. So previously it was city, state, country, and zip code were like these properties, but now they are added to another property called address. And address is an object with all these controls. In the UI, we don't see any change, but the way the form interprets these controls is different now. If you want to access city, it would be address.city. Previously, it was just city, but now it is address.city. So that is how we can group the controls. Now we have the form tracking all our controls. Let's just try to submit this form. To submit the form, we need to add an event called ng submit to the form. This submit will trigger an event when we click on the submit button. Make sure that this button is of type submit. Only then the ng submit event will be triggered when you click on that button. Now this event has to be binded to some method. So let's create that method. Let me go to the TS file, add on feedback submit, and this method is going to take the form values as a parameter. Let's just console log this form to see what it has and bind this method to the ng submit event. Let me copy and paste it here. So what do we need to pass to this on feedback submit? It is this feedback form dot value. So this feedback is nothing but whatever name you use for the template variable. So let's just save it, go back to UI. Let me fill some data here. Let's say test user 1, age group is 24, 18 to 24. Then I want to select React and city, some city 1, state 1, country 1, zip code 123456. This is an awesome tutorial. Then yes, I want to send updates via email. We see that this form is updated with all the values that I entered. Now I will be clicking on the submit, then we should see the console log. Let me open the console log first. Now let me click on submit. We don't see any console log here. Let's see what went wrong. Okay, this is ng submit. Just save it. And the form is refreshed. So let me enter the values again. Click on submit. We see that the form data is logged to the console. Address is a nested object with these properties, and these are the properties of the feedback form value. So the same thing that we displayed here is now displayed in the console so that you can process this information and send to the server or whatever you want to do with this information. So this is how a template driven form can be created in Angular. We have a form that accepts data from the user. What if I want to bind data to this form and populate the data in these controls? To do that, we need to create a model driven form, which we will see in the next video. I hope this concept is clear. If you like the content, please like, share, and subscribe to InterviewPro. Thank you.